This week's Parsha is Vayigash. I happen to have a lot in common because the brothers left Eretz Yisrael, and I just left Eretz Yisrael. I rode a camel, they rode camels. So there you have it, right? The difference was they were very hungry, I was not so hungry. In Eretz Yisrael, it's very hard to stay hungry. Anyway, it is a cliffhanger. Why did it end like that? There they are. You can just picture it with your eyes. Binyamin is apprehended. The brothers are all standing there like this. And then they say, cut. Well, we know the sponsor of this whole Torah. And why did he make it this kind of sequel? Because sometimes in life, it's exactly what happens to us. Something happens, we don't understand it, we're in a terrible position, it seems very dark, and that's why Miketz usually comes out around Hanukkah time, or during a blackout, whichever you want to think of it as. And by the way, everyone in Eretz Yisrael asked what it was like to live through the blackout here, and they felt so sorry for us, and very, very sympathetic and empathetic. Meanwhile, it ends that way because it's a lesson to us. We don't always see everything right away. It has to take a week, and sometimes much longer, to see what's going on. But it all becomes clear when Abraham said, when Yosef says, Ani Yosef, I am Yosef. It's the most amazing thing, everything. We see all of a sudden the whole thing behind the scenes, and then we see who's behind the scenes, which is, of course, Hashem. And everything will be clear someday when Hashem says, Ani Hashem. So I just want to bring up, well, I'll just finish and then I'll bring up a story where you'll see the behind the scenes Hashem. Another thing is, when they meet, Abraham hugs, they kiss on the neck, and Abraham. We just were reading so much about Abraham and Chesed Abraham and how beloved we are as a people by Abraham. But Yaakov hugs him on the neck, and Yaakov right away says, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And meanwhile, Yosef is thinking in his mind about his father and how happy he is to see him and how much he wants to make him happy. And then again later on, Binyamin and Yosef are hugging. And there's again, they start to cry. And why are they crying? Because Binyamin is thinking about Yosef's portion, which has Shiloh, the Mishkan in it, which is destroyed, and Yosef is thinking about Binyamin's portion, which has the Beis HaMikdash. So we learn 4 lessons, each one related to why they were crying, or why they reacted that way. Yaakov was thinking about his love for Hashem, and how appreciative. At this moment, when something great happens in your life, you're supposed to take that feeling and turn it to Hashem. You're supposed to capture it, captivate it, and take it and almost encapsulize it and send a prayer to Hashem. So he taught us that lesson by right away not even thinking about the reunion, but thinking how thankful he is. Yosef, on the other hand, wanted to show kibbud av v'eim. He was so grateful to be with his father, and he just wanted to bring his happiness. So his emphasis was on kibbud av v'eim. And the lesson of Yosef and Binyamin is that each person felt so much the eventual pain that they saw prophetically that was going to happen. So they felt for the others. So we learn we have a relationship with Hashem, we have the importance of kibbud av v'eim, and we have the importance of emphasizing and sympathizing with the other. Now in the end, we were called at the beginning, going back to Abraham, we were called Ivrim. We were from the other side. We were always different, and we still are. And then later on, we're called Yisraelim because of Yaakov. And eventually we're called Yehudim. Why Yehudim? Why Yehuda? What trait was there of Yehuda that we are supposed to emulate? Hoda is appreciation and praise, but also Modeh, to admit. He was the first one who actually said, I was wrong. That sentence will save a lot of marriages. Of course, it comes out better if the husband says it. I was wrong. So he was the first one who admitted, from the word Modeh, to admit that he was wrong. He was wrong with Tamar, and again, he was wrong here. So he said, I was wrong. And that is a trait that has to characterize Yehudim. So these are a few things that we learned about this parsha. The fact that eventually we're going to see that Hashem is behind the scenes. So coming home from the airport, who's on that flight? Rabbi Feiner and Aviva Feiner and their young son, Avraham Yoshayahu. Avraham Yoshayahu. And everyone's checking in, and it's going, and they're still waiting, and they're still waiting, and they're the last ones. They had a problem with the machine that the baby has to have on the plane. It's such a machine, and for some reason it seemed on the report when they checked in, it said this is not an approved machine, it could be dangerous. How and why, I'm not sure. It could be, maybe in the wrong hands, it could be used as something to detonate. And they're waiting, and they said they've traveled back and forth 9 times with the same machine, they've never had a problem, and of course this is Wednesday night, it's the 1 a.m. flight, They're sitting there, all their luggage around them, and the nurse, and we're there, and Ashi and I tried to help them. We're running, talk about behind the scenes. We're going into the business class, then we go to the offices, the head offices, and there's one officer who's trying, and another one, and we call Hatzalah. My son behind the scenes is calling Hatzalah. They're trying to replace the machine. And there's a Rabbi Führer, who's like the top medical personality and a rabbi, and he's on the plane in first class. We find out he's waiting in a business class lounge. We call him, and I get the number. I ask them to please call. They call. We talk for a minute. We get disconnected, but I have his number. I call him back. I put a Viva on the phone. Meanwhile, in the front, we're talking to the agents about getting them on. We have Hatzalah. Jamie's on the phone with Hatzalah, getting into this Rabbi Führer in the business class lounge, whatever. Plus the Hatzalah, they're bringing. Okay, they'll replace the machine. But it's 12:30. It's 12:30 and the flight is 12:50. They've already closed it out. I said, please, I say to the person at the desk, the personnel, I say, just let them, register, just let them get on the plane. And if there's a problem, if the machine doesn't come on time, then we'll do something. And I run back. So then I finally run back to the guy, the head officer. I said, listen, I would do it for I would definitely do it, but even my Hatzalah guy here on premise that it could be dangerous. I can't. The flight has to be closed out. It's dangerous for the flight. It's dangerous for the people. And I can't hold up a whole jumbo plane with over 250 people on it. I said, can't you do something? Then I run back to the woman. I said, just, check them in. Just check them in. You never know. Hashem works in mysterious ways. At least, nothing doing. We ran back again behind the scenes. We're in the main office. And the guy says, there's no way. It's 12:30. He says, what are you doing here? He says, you're off the plane also? I said, no, I checked in already. He looks, he says, make sure. He says, otherwise I'm canceling you out. So I go, my husband calls. I said, just let them do. All of a sudden he gets a phone call on the other phone. He says, visa? He says, there's another problem, independent of this problem, and we might have to delay the plane. Somebody had a visa that was expired, so they couldn't. I guess the person, whether it was suspicious or not, and they had to take their luggage off. He said, let them keep registering. If it comes through, I said, give me your number. I want to call. I run on the plane. Unbelievable. I go to Rabbi Führer. He's sitting there davening and doing his own, learning. I said, we're working on it. He says, I know. He says, I told. All of a sudden, plane, they announced on the plane, there will be a delay. They said a problem with the baggage compartment, and we're going to wait. Well, sure enough, within a half hour, it was a half-hour delay. They got on literally the last ones carrying. It was unbelievable. I said I was there, and I saw behind the scenes Yad Hashem. There was no way they were going to hold that plane. No way. But Hashem said they are going to hold it, and He created this problem, and it happened. So if you're ever behind the scenes and you don't know, this was behind the scenes. Hashem works in the most mysterious ways, and they got on that plane.